So with this problem, it says that if Ewan gives Ben 2/5 of his money, Ben will have 2 times as much money as Ewan would have then. And the second scenario they give us is if instead Ben gives Ewan 1/4 of his money, or 1/4 of his money, Ewan will have $90 more than what Ben would have then. So to start, I'm just going to work on the first scenario and the second scenario separately. And so with the first scenario, it's Ewan gives Ben 2/5 of his money. So I will represent Ewan, and B will represent Ben. And to represent the money, since we don't know the exact amount yet, I'll be using sticky notes. And to clarify, I'm just using different colors to separate the two people, but they represent the same value. So I'll be using yellow for Ewan, and he will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. But he gives 2 to Ben, so we'll take these 2 and bring them down. So in the first scenario, it says after this, Ben will have 2 times as much money as Ewan would have then. So since Ewan has 3 now, we want to get Ben to have double that amount. So we need to get him to 6, so we just need to add 4 more blocks of Ben's money, which will be represented with the pink sticky notes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now that puts Ben at 6. And that would be the first scenario, so now this scenario lets us know that Ben has 4 blocks of money. Which helps us in the second scenario where instead Ben gives 1/4 of his money to Ewan. So I'll do the second scenario here. Again, I represents Ewan and B represents Ben. We'll grab the 4 sticky notes to represent Ben's money again. And this time, in the second scenario, Ben gives 1/4 of his money. So we'll take one of the squares and move it up to Ewan. And then, after this, Ewan will have $90 more than Ben. So let's put back Ewan's money. Since he had 5 squares, we'll give him 5 squares here. Move this so the squares line up. Now, since the squares represent the same value, and we know Ewan has $90 more than Ben, what we want to do is we want to pair up the squares, since they can cancel each other out, since they equal the same amount. And what we'll be left with is 3 squares. This represents our $90. So what we want to do then is we want to break up the $90 equally among the 3 squares, which will tell us that the squares each represent $30. So the final question is how much money do the 2 boys have together? Since we now know the value of each square, we can simply count the amount of squares that both Ben and Ewan have, which would be, since it's 5 for Ewan, 5 times 30, which would be 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And then we have 4 for Ben, which would be 30, 60, 90, 120. And then we simply have to add those 2 numbers up together to get our final answer of $270 together between the 2 boys.